Are you on patrol right now, Sheriff?
Sure. I'm working, but I'm not actually out doing patrol right now.
What what is a sheriff, if you don't mind? You have highway patrol, you have police departments in different precincts. Like up where I'm at, we have the Reno Police Department, we have the Sparks Police Department, but then we have the Nevada Highway Patrol that are on our freeways and our interstates. And then
Yeah.
out kind of where I live in the country a little bit, you see more sheriffs than you
Right.
see. What is a sheriff?
So a sheriff is the head law enforcement officer of every county, and it's typically responsible for the unincorporated areas of the county. So if you have a city, say the city of Reno, they probably have their own police department, but the all of the county areas surrounding that would be fall under the jurisdiction of the sheriff. Technically, the sheriff has jurisdiction over the entire county, but in incorporated cities, that jurisdiction is delegated to them from the sheriff, actually. So in California, I believe Nevada's the same way. The sheriffs are elected officials. They're elected by the residents of the county to provide the law enforcement services and the direction of law enforcement, public safety for that county. And that's no different here. So Riverside County is 2.5 million people. And they've elected me in 2018 to be their sheriff and reelected again in 2022.
Very nice. So when you say elected, do you have to go out and campaign for the sheriff position?
I did. So I'm a 32-year member of the Riverside County Sheriff's Office, but in 2018, I had to run for the office of sheriff. And the idea of it, this was way back when the forming of our country, the forming of our state, is sheriffs were made elected officials so they would answer to the people, not to politicians. So it's a non-partisan race, but you do have to run. Basically, what is your platform to provide public safety to your county residents, and then it's up to the people to vote for the direction that they want. Riverside County voted a very pro public safety, anti criminal, very proactive. Criminals should be held accountable. That's who they voted for with me, and that's what they get.
So, 31 years you said, correct? 32 years.
Yep, 32 years, and I've been the sheriff since 2018.
Well, thank you for your service. Thank you for
You're
what you
welcome.
do.
Absolutely.
Riverside geographically, where is it from, let's say, downtown Los Angeles?
Yeah, we are east of Los Angeles, and we're probably about maybe 50 miles, maybe 60 miles east of Los Angeles. In Freeway Southern California time, that's about 3 hours, but it's as the crow flies, it's about 60 miles.
I'm wearing a Giant shirt, as you can see. Are you a lifelong Dodgers fan, the World Series back to back champions?
I'm actually not. I was a transplant to California from Utah. So I came here. I was a huge baseball fan. I was involved in baseball my entire life. So I kind of liked players, not necessarily teams. I pretty much just became I split my time between the Angels, the Dodgers, and the Padres.
As far as being down there, you moved to LA, the Los Angeles area. You're in you're in law enforcement for 3 decades. Is that right after OJ? Is that right after Rodney King? That was right before you started. I take it. I'm trying to get my dates right.
It was at that time.
It was right
It
about
was
that time that you started.
it yeah, it was right at that time. Those the riots, the OJ riots, I was in the police academy at the time.
Here in the place. So you had just started your police career, your law enforcement career, and those are some of the most famous. Most probably famous isn't the right word, but maybe even infamous is the right word for it. But as far as law enforcement goes, I mean that was national level news, and just seemed like it was reported on for years. Why did you go to the academy? What was your belief? What was your intent? Did you always want to be a police officer or a sheriff growing up?
No, I definitely didn't. My intent was about this time in my life, I should have been being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame. But that obviously didn't work out for me. God had different plans. And when I came to California, I was working various construction jobs here, working for an auto dealership. And this just came to me. One of my buddies that I worked in the auto dealership with, he was going to the academy at night, and we were talking about it. He said it'd be something I would like. And it was intriguing, the stories he's telling me about his academy experience. And so I quit my job and I put myself through full time. And right after the academy, I got hired. I tell you, it was nothing that I envisioned going into, but from day one of the academy, I knew it was the right place. I finished top of my class, and I was hired by Riverside County, and it's been nothing but good since then.
So throughout your law enforcement career, Sheriff Bianco, I'm assuming that you've watched what's been going on in California as a whole. You hear a lot of things. Being where I live and where I was born and raised, we were always in Northern California. We were in Cedarville, we were in Eagleville, we were in Alturas, we were up in the mountains, we were on the Oregon border. A lot of, like Northwest California, up around around, just different places where my dad would take us hunting. And it just seems like that area is still a really, really good part of California. I was just in Chico. I was just around Durham, California. And there's a lot of good people in these parts of California. And I'm not saying there's not a lot of great, I mean, we're both good friends with Dan Henderson. He's one of the greatest people I know. He's down in Temecula. But as a whole, if you just kind of watched areas like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Sacramento, the bigger rural areas, has it been telling you like, something needs to change and we're going to start getting into where you're transitioning in your career now as actually running for California state governor? Your current governor is one of my least favorite human beings that I've ever read about or learned about or paid attention to. I don't like this man at all or what he's about. He just seems really not good to me. And I'm not going to get specific in in the way my adjectives describe this man on a daily basis, but you've had to watch this over your entire career, and now you're like, I'm going for it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I watched in my entire career as California started becoming more and more pro criminal and started caring less and less about victims, demonizing law enforcement, passing a lot of laws that made it difficult for law enforcement to do their job in keeping the community safe. And Newsom was San Francisco mayor all through politics, everything else. He definitely did nothing to make San Francisco better. He's destroyed everything that he's touched. And he became governor the same time I became president. And so sheriff. So as my entire existence here as sheriff trying to fight for public safety, it's truly been fighting Newsom and his pro-criminal agenda. He's closed many, many prisons in California, let tens of thousands of inmates out early back into our community to victimize us, very anti-law enforcement. And I'll go a little bit more of what you said. I despise the man. I like leaders. I gravitate toward leaders and people that help other people in their lives. And the number one attribute of a leader is you got to care more about other people than you care about yourselves. And Newsom cares only about himself and his own political aspirations and what he has next. And it truly is harming all of California. So as I've been battling this whole a failed state government and a failed governor for the last 7 years as sheriff, it finally just is like, look, I got to do something to make this right. We know California is going in the wrong direction, and somebody with a little bit of common sense and leadership ability has got to stand up and start fighting for this beautiful state, because you really did describe it, how you described the northern part of the state. And I will say even my county is the same. We are a beautiful, beautiful state with fantastic people, fantastic businesses. The outdoors of California is like the outdoors of no other place. We've got deserts, mountains, valleys, farming community. The hunting is off the hook here. It's a great place, but it's slowly being killed by bad government policy. And it's that industry, the hunting lifestyle, is being driven out of California. It's for activism, it's for animal rights activists that truly, you and I don't have to have this argument, we're on the same page. The best conservationists for wildlife are hunters, and activists are the absolute worst thing for it. And that's what we have in California. Everything is just making it bad here, but we've still got a beautiful state. And I just decided I was going to do everything I could to make it better.
Yeah, when you start talking about the outdoors, I'm always bragging. I work really close with California Waterfowl Association and different state regionalized agencies around the state. I'm always telling people across the country. I hunt in 18 to 20 different states every season. And people are always like, man, I saw your TV show and you're out there hunting in California in the rice fields and you're chasing speckled belly geese. And they're like, really? California? I'm like, it's unreal. The amount of wildlife here, all of the different from big game to predator to turkey to ducks and geese, the fishing on offshore, the Sacramento River, the striper run, the bass fishing at Clear Lake. I mean, I could go on and on and on, but the thing that people go is like, or say is, I'm not going to California because it automatically gets this reputation of what's on the national news about the politics, about Newsom, about one of the subjects that I'm going to start with in a second that I really started paying attention to about a decade ago. And now it's happening in my hometown, which is the homelessness. People are always saying, man, I drive through Sacramento and there's tent cities right on the highway. I have compassion. I have grace. I was raised the right way to take care of our brothers and sisters and to never put yourself first. I understand that ideology. But man, what is going on when you go to a place like San Francisco? And not only is the homelessness just running rampant, they're breaking into stores and this misdemeanor law of anything under $1,000. People are getting away with these store owners to have no choice but to just stand there and watch it. Big retailers have moved out of the city of San Francisco, which in my opinion is one of the prettiest, coolest cities in the world historically to visit Fisherman's Wharf or to visit the baseball field or go watch the 49ers play. Now it's like you get a local Nevadan from Reno. They're like, I don't even want to go there anymore. I'm not going to go to the Bella. What is the place called? The Rio Vista, or whatever, that serves the Irish coffees. Like there's so much that we used to do in the city. And now it's kind of like, we could go without it. Start with homelessness, because I'm on your website last night and I'm reading kind of what you're envisioning for your campaign. What is it about homelessness? You already heard me say grace, compassion. But man, how do we take care of this to where our cities are not being overran with this, to where the citizens are like, I don't want to go around that.
Yeah, but you hit it right on the head. The grace and the compassion is right now what we seriously lack. It is not compassionate to allow someone to rot in their own skin and die on the street, and that's really what we have here. But if to get more personal and to get more straight to the point of what is causing this, government is causing the homeless issue. Government in California has directly increased exponentially the issue that we have here of homelessness. And I got to tell you, we'll never fix it until we stop calling it homeless, because it has absolutely nothing to do with homes. It's drug and alcohol addiction. California has made drugs legal in California. We give these people money to basically buy drugs and live on the street. You talk about San Francisco. You cannot go in downtown San Francisco, especially at night, without stepping over the bodies of people who are knocked out on drugs, completely addicted to what it is, fentanyl now, and heroin and methamphetamine, all these different drugs. It is just a drug haven. They've made drug dens. They actually call them drug dens, where these homeless people, or anyone else, if for that matter, can go into these drug dens and legally do their drugs and basically kill themselves. And it's okay here in California. And then the homeless issue is now a homeless industrial complex that billions and billions and billions and billions of dollars are being funneled into this complex of NGOs and nonprofits that are not helping one single bit. They're making it worse. But now we're finding out that some of that money is making its way back into the political system, into the campaigns of these people that are giving the money in the first place. So it's basically a big money laundering system of taxpayer money. And the people that are dying and living on the streets are truly the victims. And then the businesses are being closed because of theft, because no one's going to go into the business when, people are camped out on the sidewalk in front and living there in their tents and in their sleeping bags. And it is 100% government caused.
How does the government, when you say things like you just said about government caused, how do the citizens of California, whether you're blue or red, Republican, Democrat, I don't care if you're a diehard liberal, how can you look at Newsom and the mayor of LA, for example? How can you look at these people with a straight face and tell yourself in your heart that I would vote for this person again for what you're seeing with the stories, it might be rumors sometimes, but the evidence is there. The state has fallen apart. Joe Rogan, who's the biggest podcaster in the world, has said this. There's been several people that have left and been very vocal about why they're leaving. Now, I don't put a whole lot into celebrities telling me who to vote for or how to vote. But when they start picking up their families and moving out like Mark Wahlberg did and Mel Gibson and Joe Rogan and a lot of other people, we can go down the list, when they start taking it to that extreme, it's time to be like, whoa, California is beautiful. If I lived in the Hollywood Hills or I'm looking out over the Pacific Ocean in Laguna or Riverside or Newport or Huntington or somewhere, I love that area. But
Yeah.
when you start learning that people are actually taking the steps of like, I'm relocating my entire family, something's going on. My question, Sheriff Bianco, is what is going on with the voter base there that they would continually do this? Is it fake? Is it made up? There's no way that a legitimate, educated human being that has the money to afford the fuel to put in their car to drive to the voting place or even fill out a mail-in ballot could vote for these people with the way they are running these cities in this state. What's going on?
Yeah, I think well, I know it's decades in the making. And it starts with the Democrat Party is very, very organized and always has been. And Democrats have been bred and taught that you just always vote Democrat. You never cross party lines. And so, I mean, we'll be very, very honest. If Charles Manson was on the ballot as a Democrat and that's all they had to vote for, they would vote for Charles Manson instead of someone that would actually do them justice as an elected official, because they will only vote Democrat. And that's been going on for decades. So we have that issue. And then we have, fake news. We have dishonest politicians. You have Newsom, that every time he gets on the airwaves or if he's on social media, if he is talking, he is absolutely lying. And so all of things are happening at the same time. They've told Republicans over and over and over again that your vote doesn't matter, your vote doesn't count, there's going to be cheating going on anyway, they're going to install whoever they want, it doesn't matter who you vote for. And so Republicans have given up. Republicans have stopped voting, and we see that every election. The percentage of Republicans that actually get out and vote is dying off. And we just had a special election where the entire state, only 35% of the state, voted on a ballot measure that basically corrupt politicians were trying to take redistricting away from the residents, and they did. And it was the Democrats vote Democrat, and they ended up winning because Republicans won't come out and vote. But we are in a position now where everything that you just said, you can't be an intelligent person with any type of common sense and not walk out your front door and see that California is absolutely broken. We have the highest income taxes, the highest poverty rate. We have the greatest economy, but the most unemployment and the biggest deficit in state government. They just told us that we're going to finish this year now, fifth estimate, $15 billion in the red. How does that even happen? And I'll tell you, it happens because we have a one-party rule with a Democrat progressive governor, a Democrat progressive legislature that are in a bubble. They operate in a vacuum, a little echo chamber where they tell each other how great they're doing. They have no concept of money, and they just keep spending on pet projects, on activism, and it's completely out of control where California is being destroyed. And people are finally starting to wake up and say enough is enough. Last year we had an election that one of the biggest referendums in political history in California history was a proposition to basically take criminal justice back from the politicians and start making crime a crime again. And 75% of the state voted for this. So that is Democrats too saying, we're done with this agenda. We're done with this craziness that you're destroying our state. And we're going to start standing up and taking it back. And we're hoping that we roll this into these midterm elections starting in June of 26 next year. And even the Democrats are saying, look, I'm a Democrat. I don't believe in everything you say as a Republican, but we know you have to win. We know we need common sense and justice back into government, and that's why we're supporting you.
So how realistic? I believe in 2020, it was Larry Elders that ran as the
Yeah.
Republican. How realistic, Sheriff Bianco, You're a very honest man from what I've gathered, meeting you, learning about you, talking to my mutual friends about you. How realistic is it that a Republican can win the governorship in the state of California? I think Schwarzenegger was the last one. Am I right when I say that?
You are, and I will even say, I'll make it even more difficult to say he was not the last one. I think we didn't elect Arnold Schwarzenegger because he was a Republican. I don't think anybody knew or cared. He was elected because he was the most famous person at the time. He was an unbelievable celebrity. Everyone liked him. He was the Terminator. And back at the time, he was referred to as, the Terminator, the Governator. That's why he was elected. It was because of his profile, not because of his political policies. I don't even know if anyone knew what his policies were. He definitely was a conservative, but it was a little bit different. So I'm not going to have that star power that he had to go along with this election. So it's going to be even more difficult than his. And we know, I don't want to say it's a slim shot. I'll say it's 50-50. Some people are saying it's a little bit less than 50%. But as we keep going on in this campaign, when people are hearing what I want to do for our state, what I have to offer, and now that I'm leading in the polls, it's looking more and more and more like California is going to make the decision to change direction with at least their governor. Maybe not other elected officials, but they know they need a different direction in their governor.
So 50-50, maybe a little bit less, but you're leading in the polls. When you say leading in the polls, please give me a description of what that means. Is that for the leading Republican? Does that mean that you're leading over everybody? Because you have Eric, Tom Steyer, Katie Porter, and then a new guy just jumped in, Eric Swalwell. Is that how I pronounce it?
Yes, it is.
I don't know. Like, this guy's big time liberal too, if I'm correct. Am I right on this?
Yeah, they all are. They are all going to be exactly what Newsom is or worse. And I think that's why you're talking about the polls. This is overall polling. I'm leading Democrats. So I am the leading candidate for governor in California in the last three polls that have come out within the last month.
Okay, and when will the decision be made so the listening audience knows? It'll be in November of 26?
That's the overall. So we're a little bit different than most states. We have what's called a jungle primary, and you're basically running against each other. So it's the top two people, regardless of party. It's just the top two vote getters in June will be in a runoff election in November.
So we have to put this together to have you one of the top two by June of 2026. And as far as the last three polls went around October, November of 2025, you're leading everybody. Is this why this Swalwell jumps into the race late? Because he sees this and he says that I can spend enough money to get the word out there to vote for me? Because this kind of happened in another state that we work with, the state of Wisconsin, to where all of a sudden a guy that doesn't even really live in the state except for 90 days a year jumps in. He's a billionaire. Don't know how he got President Trump's approval. And then he beats Rebecca Clayfish in the primary and doesn't win the governorship, goes up against the sitting governor and loses bad. But I've seen this happen before where these guys come in and they got money, and money talks sometimes in politics. What's going on with these three, Eric, Katie, and Tom? Is this a money game to where they can spend enough money to try to win the election?
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it is, especially with Steyer. He's a multi-billionaire and he's already vowed to fund his own campaign. But with the others, I think what's happening is the Democrat Party in California is absolutely indefensible. They have absolutely nothing to run on. It's all the same career politicians that have destroyed California in the first place. And what we are seeing is their only chance of gaining popularity is bashing President Trump. And so they can't say they've done these great things. It's just anti-Trump. It's the Trump derangement syndrome that is running the Democrat Party in California. And what they're seeing in these polls is the Democrat Party is in complete disarray. So now these opportunistic billionaires and opportunistic, failed politicians are now going to jump into this race because on the Democrat side it's wide open, and they believe that just because they're Democrats they're going to win California. But the reality is, that's why I'm in the lead in these polls, is even Democrats are supporting me because California is absolutely broken and we're sick of the same policies over and over and over again. We know they're failing. It's a failed social experiment in California that has failed over the last 20 years, and everyone just wants something different. And the Democrats that are currently running, they don't get it. They're running on the same failed policies. They want more taxes. They want to go more green. They want more green energy. They want more pro-environment and environmentalist stuff. And it's just bizarre. It's destroying our state, and they're just doubling down in the same campaign that they run every year.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, everything that you just listed in the last 30 seconds has worked really well for California. Not, it's
Yeah.
unbelievable some of the things. So let me ask you this: um, Have you talked to President number 47? I love Trump. I'm saying it again on my podcast. I absolutely love President Trump. Have you talked to him? Will he endorse you? Does he approve of you? Do you know this for a fact? How does an endorsement happen? When will that endorsement happen? If so, and are you feeling confident that President Donald Trump, number 45, number 47, is going to endorse your campaign for governor of California for 2026?
Yeah, lots of questions there. Yes, he knows who I am. Yes, he respects me. He loves what I've done here for law enforcement, and he knows that I'm running for governor. I have not talked to him personally about this run for governor. We've talked to his political team. We're in constant talks with them. He knows what I stand for, what I have to offer, and he knows what the polls are saying. So I can't say, I can't speak for the president. I can't say whether or not he endorses us. I hope he does. I don't know why he wouldn't. I know he loves California, and I know he wants the best for California. So why wouldn't he endorse? But we're just running our own campaign here. We're doing everything we can to show that we're going to make California better by working with the federal government, not fighting against it, by doing the things we should be for our own residents. And we'll continue in our interactions and working together with President Trump's administration to make sure that we can do that. In the end, I don't know if he would do it before the primary or after the primary. That's we have to all agree that President Trump does what President Trump wants, and he'll decide when that time comes, if it comes. And certainly, we definitely want his endorsement.
How has this decision to put yourself out there even more so in the public eye in the entire state and not just Riverside County now as the sheriff? Because you've been out there. People know who you are there at the local cafe, the local stores, the sporting events. They know who Sheriff Bianco is. When I went to the grand opening of the restaurant in Temecula, all of the people there knew who you were. But you're going, talk to me about your family, stress, hours that it takes to put this on and try to achieve what you're doing. I'm going to go as far as saying that I don't think Newsom gives a flying rat's ass about his family, and that it's a narcissistic move to just keep putting himself out there in the public eye to be this leader and now telling everybody he's going to become the president of the United States. I think he's backwards in so many ways, but I don't think he cares about family. I really don't. And I know his family. I know he's related to Pelosi. I get all this. It's a whole, it's just generations of lies, in my opinion. And I'll probably get in trouble for saying that on here. But you're a family man. Like how are you managing this when you really do care about the people, your family, your friends, your network?
Yeah, so I definitely am a family man, and I've said it over and over and over. There is no one that Gavin Newsom cares more about than Gavin Newsom, and that certainly is not me. Um, when I was trying to decide if we were even going to do this, this was a long process, over a year of praying, talking, engaging with people. And the most important people I had to engage with and talk about was my family. It was my wife and my kids. And if any of them would have said they don't want me to do it, I would not have done it, because we know what politics is, especially in California. It's you get, if you are not Democrat, you get absolutely attacked with lies, with threats, with the death threats right now for not only me but my entire family are just off the hook. And I guess it's not even a microscope on my family, because the vast majority of things, if not all of the things that we're seeing in social media now, they're just flat out lies. And it's just personal attacks on my wife, on me, on my kids. And they knew it was coming. And so the thing with my kids is they know how successful I became in California and the opportunity that I have here. And they also know that they don't have it anymore. They're looking at other states that they have to look for a better education for their kids and for a better life for them, for a better cost of living, so they can have money at the end of the month after paychecks. And it's not California, but yet they love it here. They know that it's only the political process that's broken. It's the political party ruling California that's broken. And they know that I can fix it. They know that me winning this election makes it to where they can stay in California, where their kids can go to school in California. So they were 100% behind me, which allowed me to say, okay, I'm going to go full speed with this. And now it's just, it's 1,000 miles an hour to the end. We're not gonna stop until we give up. And it's time consuming. I've got a full-time job being the sheriff of the fourth largest sheriff's office in the entire country. And I'm running for the second largest political office in the country. After the president, California governor is the next highest elected office in this country. And it's going to be an uphill battle, and it's going to be a lot of negativity and lies that come at me from the Democrat Party, but we're ready for it. There's nothing true that they're going to be saying, and we're just gonna appeal to the general public, to Californians, to make something better for yourselves by electing the right people.
There was a young lady stabbed to death in the subways of New York a couple short months ago. Blatantly, on camera, disgusting. They just elected a mayor that is anti-police. He's anti-law enforcement. He's anti-criminal justice. Mind-blowing to me.
Yeah.
Like, that city can't afford this. I love New York City. But when I was there, and I have private security when I'm there, Sheriff, and they said, we're not allowing you to go down in the subways. That's kind of sad that my daughter doesn't get to see the famous subway system of Manhattan, right? Like, something's got to give, but they go backwards. They publicly elected an official for mayor just now that is anti-America in so many ways. Again, I'm probably going to get in trouble, but I'm just saying that it's the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah, Chad, isn't it funny that we get in trouble for stating the truth?
The truth.
It's absolutely nuts. And I've said for a long time now that California and New York are trying to outdo one another of who's going to destroy their state the fastest. And I think New York is winning. And I believe California's been doing it longer, but New York just started doing it faster. And I think that because they're going a little bit too fast, I think this greed for free stuff has just gotten the better of them. And the hardworking people, honestly, just didn't get out and vote. They had the same issue that California has with the amount of people that vote. It's not everyone. And California, I think, is just turning around. Ours was a slow demise. And so it wasn't that rocket crash to the bottom. It was just a slow demise, and people wisened up and said, hey, enough is enough. So that whole political system of criminal justice, last year we turned that around. And it's very obvious that 3/4 of our state voted for, no, we don't want that. We are pro-cop. We are anti-criminal, and we want a safer Californian. But New York didn't go that route. And it's disheartening to look at. And there's a very old saying that says, so goes California, so goes the rest of the country. And I truly am doing this. We are going to right California so we can make sure that we save the rest of the country, because from those of us that are here looking outward, we are watching great states slowly turn to what California is. I mean, I grew up in Utah. I grew up right next to Colorado. Colorado was amazing. And from a political perspective now, I'm watching as Colorado is turning into California. And you've got only good pockets now of the outlying counties and cities that are still the conservative Colorado, where Denver and all of those places are just complete liberal places like San Francisco. And I just don't get it. I don't see how it's happening, but I think people are finally seeing they need to get out and vote, and they need to start speaking up for themselves.
Denver's an absolute embarrassment now. I love Colorado. I love Loveland. I love Fort Collins. I love the entire Front Range all the way up to Cheyenne, Wyoming. And when I go to, I love going to the Rockies games. I love going to Red Rock to watch a concert and more. And then I can't even fly in and stay in a hotel in Denver now. I saw a dead person on the sidewalk from an overdose with two people kicking him, trying to wake him up. And then they covered the law enforcement finally got there and covered the body up. Like, the drug, the addiction, the homelessness. It's Denver. Even in the hunting world, in the laws that Newsom has passed, whether it was the sin tax, the 11% on the ammunition, the laws that they've tried to pass in that state on Capitol Hill and Sacramento, we always talk about it. It always spreads eastward. If you don't get involved with California waterfowl, even if you live in New York or Arkansas or North Dakota, they are trying to go eastward, and it is affecting so many states. Now the sin tax is in Maryland. It's on the ballot. It's going to be in other states of trying to tax ammo to make it harder for the everyday American to go out and hunt and fish or to protect his dwelling or her dwelling. So I agree 100%. So goes California. So goes the rest of the country. When it comes to public safety, Sheriff Bianco, you've been in it 31, 32 years. You've been protecting the community of Riverside. Is it safe to say that our judicial system, the justice system of our country in California, is the slap on the wrist too lenient? I understand that people are not born into the same effort, the same afforded luxuries, the same parents that could discipline them and raise them the right way. I understand this. But in my entire life, Sheriff, I've never graffitied. I've never keyed a car. I've never tried to steal a car. I've never broken a window. I've never shoplifted. I've never done anything. Am I perfect? Lord knows I'm not perfect. But when I watch how many chances people get, I often
Mhm.
go to the mindset of enough is enough. If you take care of them from the beginning, when they break that first law and teach them, they're not going to graduate to the next one. This is me talking now. I'm not saying this is your opinion. I'm asking. We've got to get in the minds of these future criminals earlier to where they don't graduate from graffiti to stealing a car to now they arm robbery and and it just keeps going higher and higher and they're just being let out so many times. Am I on
Yeah,
to something there? Is that the wrong view? Or am I supposed to have so much compassion that it's like, no, 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 not everybody's created equal. And we have to just take it that, hey, we just have to accept that our neighborhoods are going to be unsafe because these career criminals keep being let out.
yeah, you are absolutely correct. And no, you are not supposed to say that, although that's what the political agenda would want you to believe. We have to realize this is a failed social experiment. It was a social experiment to blame somebody else for everyone else's problems. Just because you were poor does not mean you should do drugs. Just because you are poor does not mean you should go murder someone. Just because you are not wealthy doesn't mean you have to go steal something instead of working hard for it. Those are the issues that California is facing, and we've been blaming it on other people instead of on ourselves. Whether you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter. You are supposed to be instilled with integrity and values and character and honesty, and those things are what we're missing. That we're kind of, when you say a slap on the wrist, it's all of these things rolled in together. We're not pushing it back on the parents' responsibility. We're not pushing it back on really more than a slap on the wrist. You think about when you were a kid. You did everything you could as a kid until you got corrected. And when you got corrected by a spanking or a slap on the hand or on the butt or across the head, and that's what changed your behavior. And in California, criminal behavior has been made legal. There is no consequence for criminal behavior in California. And when you do that, you're basically enabling criminal behavior. And that's what we have here. So it's a bizarre social experiment that failed. We need to, as adults with common sense and a little bit of sanity, we have to say, okay, great try. I mean, it was a valiant effort, but it's failed. Now we have to go back to reality and do the things that we know work and let the adults in the room handle it from here.
Sheriff Bianco, talk to me about religion and believing, meaning Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and there's a lot of stories out there. It's hard to even know what to believe because of social media, conspiracy theory, anti-Charlie Kirk protesters, liberals. Like everybody's got their reasoning. Even Candace Owens is talking about why this happened. But regardless, even President Trump talks about Christianity and believing in the Lord and that God saved him on that day in Pennsylvania and kept him on earth to do a job for the American people, for the world. The peace this man is achieving in the world is unbelievable. Should have easily won the Nobel Peace Prize. But I've had several conversations where I talk about these words, Sheriff Bianco. When I was young, my mom and dad put the fear of God in me, meaning every single time I had the choice to make, do I drink this beer at this high school party? Do I fist fight this guy because of this? Do I steal this because I can right now? I would stop and think about what God would think and what God would do to me if I did it. It was the fear of God, and we do not have the fear of God instilled in us anymore. And in my opinion, it's become easier to act out and not be right and not live right, because there is a right way to live. There is a right way to be a citizen and to live in a community amongst neighbors and to treat our neighbors. It's in the 10 Commandments. Don't steal. Treat your neighbors with higher authority. Love one another. We don't love each other anymore.
Yeah.
But we
Well, we
don't have the fear of God anymore. Do you understand what I'm saying, Sheriff Bianco, what the fear of God used to mean? You're not very much older than me. I think you're 55, I'm 51. We were born about the same time. Do you remember the fear of God?
Oh, absolutely. And I think a lot of us do. And it's kind of a little bit ironic that you asked me earlier if I was on patrol and I said I was not. What I'm actually doing is I just walked out of a building. It's a community prayer breakfast that we had this morning. So one of the interesting things about the California Democrat Party in 2022, in my election, I won re-election, but the Democrat Party's reason for trying to get me out of office was that I believe in God and I pray over the decisions that I make. And it's just bizarre to me that it has nothing to do with public safety. It's that I'm a Christian and I believe in God and I pray. And so when you think of the agenda in this social experiment, it is about not having personal accountability. And in order to have personal accountability, you have to have a value system. You have to have uh, something to fall back on that would cause you to violate it, that would make you be outside the norm. And if you don't have that, then it doesn't matter what you do. You can steal, you can do drugs, you can hurt people, you can do anything that you want, and you're not held responsible because you have, bottom line, you do not have those Christian values instilled in you or that fear of God, and doing something wrong is going to be not beneficial to you in the end. And we truly are, if you go back decades and decades, where in order to get rid of the United States of America, they had to destroy us from within. And the first thing that the communists said that they had to do was they had to destroy religion in the United States. They had to make it to where we were not a Christian nation. And that's where we're at. They took God out of schools. You can't pray anymore. We can't talk about church. We can't talk about religion, and we can't talk about politics. And those are exactly the things that we should be talking about to make sure that basically every state and our nation is operating how it was designed.
Couldn't agree more. Very well said. Children, the future of our country. My daughter's 14. She's a high level volleyball player. But I'll be damned if she's going to get a ball spiked on her face from a 6'3" dude acting out as a young woman. I won't allow it. I'm one
Yeah.
of those parents that wouldn't even partake. Education, the youth of our country, the youth of California. You faced this last year in some of your colleges there, where there was a college player from a school there that was a male that was trying to play volleyball against other colleges out on the West Coast in Nevada, Idaho, other places. What is your stance on this in America and California today of what's going on in elementary school with I heard one story where there's these kids dressing up as animals and they think they're animals and they're eating out of dog bowls and it's being allowed. This is not something I want my daughter to see or even be subject to. It's not normal. It's not right. It's not biologically correct. Where does your campaign stand on the protection of children and raising our kids the right way and keeping them protected at all time, because they are being just they're just internalizing and being a sponge of so much information now being pushed into their brains. They don't have a easy way to make the right decision. It's a lot of pressure on these kids. We have to get this pressure off of these kids, in my opinion, because I don't want my daughter having to face this stuff. I understand what real life is and things are going to happen. This isn't real life. I don't want her
Mhm.
getting beat up by a boy on a wrestling mat because he was allowed to wrestle the girls and beat the heck out of them. I don't want it, Sheriff Bianco. How does your campaign feel about those sentiments?
Yeah, that's it. Not only is it biologically incorrect, it's immorally incorrect. It's common sense incorrect, and it's just straight up right versus wrong. Uh, as the governor, there will never be another boy in your girls' locker room. There will never be another boy competing against girls in athletics. This is just absolutely stupid that adults are even having these conversations because it is flat out wrong. And there's many things at play here. There's not an education system anymore. It's an indoctrination system into distancing their kids from the family unit. It's tell secrets from your parents and you only tell me as the teacher and we'll keep it our little secret. Well, that violates everything about being a parent. And I'll tell you even more from a law enforcement professional, your parents are the only people that you never keep secrets from. And especially when another adult is trying to get you to keep secrets from your parents, that adult has something morally wrong with them. And we have to get back to where things are right in California, protecting our kids. Kids cannot protect themselves. That is up to adults to protect them. And right now we are absolutely failing them. And there has been a long time effort of the demasculinization of men. And this really bothers me because it's not only where are the dads standing up for their daughters in these schools, it seems to be more of the moms doing it. And now lately, there are some dads definitely being vocal and, standing up saying this is not going to happen. But for me, I go a little bit further and I say, where are the boys in these schools why are they not standing up for their girl classmates? I mean, there is something seriously wrong when these boys will think that it's okay for an 18-year-old high school senior to walk naked in the 14-year-old middle school, ninth graders locker room, and that's okay. Where are the boys standing up for those girls? The girls can't stand up for themselves. We all know that as men and women. There should be boys standing up saying, get the hell out of that locker room. You don't belong there and don't try going in there again. But somehow we've gone down this social thing where you're just supposed to shut up and go along with the people that are the loudest. And you're afraid of being called a name or you're afraid of offending someone. And it's got to stop.
I couldn't agree more, and I'm glad that you said that because it opens my eyes to back in the day. It was bullies that boys, if I saw somebody being bullied, the guys that had the biggest set of cojones and the guts would jump in and stop it and stick up for the person that might not be adequate enough to be taking on that bully. And
Yeah,
now there's not a more important time in our history for boys to step up and protect their girls, protect their friends.
absolutely right.
That's a great way to say it. On a selfish note, Reno has become a mess infrastructure wise. We're not ready for how many Californians are moving here on a daily basis. We're not. We don't have the highway system. We don't have the internal road system. We don't have the hospitals. We don't have the high schools. We don't have the sheriffs. We don't have the police department. I live out north of town, and it's an absolute embarrassment. And people say, well, if you're embarrassed, get involved. I am involved. I
Hmm.
vote. I employ people. I work hard every day for my family, friends, and my employees. I am involved. Something with our government said, okay, we're not going to build these infrastructures because we're not going to be prepared for this influx. And I don't know if anybody in Boise, Austin, Texas, Phoenix, Reno, Nevada, in a selfish way, I don't want all the Californians moving out of California because one, we're not ready for them. And two, they come here and they still want to vote what they just left from. That latter thing that I said doesn't make any sense to me, Sheriff Bianco. Why would you leave a place that put you in the mindset that I got to get the hell out of here, but come to Reno and be like, okay, it's okay if we just turn this into another San Francisco and have just chaos all the freaking time? Talk to me about what your stance is on wanting people in California to stay in California. California doesn't deserve to lose all of its inhabitants, all of its citizens because of politics. It's crazy how many people have left that state because of what's going on in the big cities.
Yeah, I say this all the time, and this is no disrespect for any other state or people that live there. California is the best state in the country. We have the best weather, we have the best environment, we have the best geography, we have the best beaches, we have the best deserts, we have the best mountains, we have the best ski resorts, we have everything in California is better than other places, and there's nothing that any other state has that we don't. The thing that is destroying it is its government. It is an absolute failed government that is forcing businesses and residents to leave our state and go to other states for a better life. The only thing we have to do, and I'm telling you, no one wants to leave. There is no one saying, oh yeah, I want to leave California. What they say is, I don't want to leave California, but I'm being forced to leave California. So with me as the governor, we stop all of that. We stop the ridiculous business taxes. We stop the ridiculous regulations that prevent homes from being built. So it costs $1 million to buy the average home in California. We stop the ridiculous regulations on oil. So the cost of living comes down to the rest of the country instead of the highest in the country. All of those things get stopped so the people will not feel like they're forced to leave. The businesses aren't forced to leave. And then we'll make it business friendly where businesses come into California. We don't want anybody to leave. We want more people coming to California. We just want them to be Americans coming to California, not from other countries. We're not going to give them free stuff anymore. And we just want a better government. My vision for California is that finally, after decades and decades and decades of abuse of its residents, California will have a government that actually works to make the lives of its residents better instead of the residents working so hard to make their government bigger. It's backwards here in California, and we're just going to right this ship and do things the right way, how it was intended.
As we come to the end of our initial podcast with Sheriff Chad Bianco, Governor, hopefully Governor Bianco after 2026 election, talk to me, Sheriff Bianco, about things that have been said about you as sheriff and whether it was crime and you didn't take care of this or the jail system in Riverside. Have you been handcuffed, no pun intended, as the sheriff because of the politics of California? How do you react when people say, well, your crime rate was up in Riverside or there was too many deaths in the jails of Riverside County? How do you react to those people that have something negative to say about what you've done for 30 years in law enforcement and as the sheriff since 2018-19?
Yeah, I say the same thing over and over. I say, ask an elected official in Riverside County. Ask a resident of Riverside County that's not an activist, and everyone is going to tell you how great it is here in Riverside County. The lies that are being told about us are because of this political warfare system that we have going on, where they absolutely know, the Democrat Party in California knows that they are going to lose this election to me because people are absolutely sick and tired of public safety, and I have the answer to keeping California safe. And so the mission is going to be to discredit what I have done in Riverside County. They're lying about our crime stats. They're lying about our closure rates. They're making a huge deal of this death in jails, saying that I'm killing all these people in jails. It was 1 year where everyone in the entire country, across the country, every single jail and prison system experienced a spike in deaths because of COVID, because of an open border with the influx of fentanyl into our country, and everyone was dying because of suicide and fentanyl overdoses in custody. And it was no different in our state prison system here in California that they want you to not look at. anywhere in the country. They just want to focus on my jail deaths because mine increased from an average of 9 to 18. But what they won't tell you is last year it was 6. So it's now we're at a 400% decrease, but they don't want you to believe that. It's all fake. And the problem that they have is facts don't lie. And they just want these sensationalistic headlines that convince people that something's bad because they hope that people are lazy and are not going to look any bit forward to see if it was real. So actually, I don't do anything other than tell facts, prove it, show me, those types of things. Don't just make these accusations, because life in Riverside County is very, very good compared to the rest of the state. And those of us, the 2.5 million people here, we know it.
Are you sure you want to do this, Sheriff Bianco? Are you sure? Are you sure you want to hear this every day about you? Because it's going to get worse, I assume. Um, people are going to keep talking on you. You're going to have to travel a ton in this new job. You're going into that time of life to where most Americans retire at 62. If they're allotted that. The golden years of life, spend it with your wife, traveling the world, grandkids, grandbabies. Like, are you sure you want to put this pressure on you? Why does somebody that has had such a good career, could retire, have that pension, live the good life, drink some vino, eat some oysters on the half shell, kiss your wife, hug on your grandbabies? Why would you want to do this? Is it because you care, or is it because you need the notoriety? You need your face out there? Are you like, talk to me, like, why do you want to do this? You're not a lifelong politician. You're not 30 years old. You're not dressing in a suit and tie every day and trying to be something you're not. Why do you want to do this to end our conversation? Because it's very interesting to me that you would want to jump into something like this and try to become the governor, because if you do good at it, you might have to do it for 4 more years after that. You really want this? Do you really want this, Sheriff Bianco?
I've resigned myself to the next 8 years, because I know I'm going to win this election, and I know I'm going to win the next 4. And you're absolutely right. I should be retiring. I'm 58 years old. I've been doing this for 32 years old. And I've achieved my perfect dream, my American, my California dream. But in the end, I absolutely know that there are 40 million Californians that I can make their lives better. And if it only takes me sacrificing 8 years of my life, I will gladly do that to make sure that not only my kids, but everyone else's kids in California and their grandkids have the opportunity for the California dream that I have. And you're absolutely right. There are a lot of people that say, "Why are you doing this?" And for me, it's like, I'm doing it for you. I'm doing it for your kids, and I'm doing it for your grandkids, because Californians deserve better.
Well, I love it. And if it wasn't for individuals, men and women like you, that do have ethics and morals and were raised the right way, that aren't fearful to go out and put themselves before the American people to try to make something better, it really can happen. There really are good people that want to have their states in this country better for our citizens, for our kids, for future generations. There really are good-hearted people that are running for office that aren't Gavin Newsom. Okay, and I'll say it. I don't like the man. I don't like his aunt one bit. How in the hell is his aunt worth $300 million as a public official? It doesn't make sense. You're never going to be able to tell me why the Obamas are worth what they're worth, the Clintons are worth what they're worth. It doesn't make any sense to me. I understand why Donald Trump's worth what he was a tycoon and a real estate developer and a multi-billionaire before he ever became president. He donates his salary back. So I believe in the ethics and the morals. I believe that Donald Trump has a good relationship with his sons and daughters, with his grandkids. He doesn't drink. He doesn't party. Has he been in the public eye with women? Yeah. Show me somebody that makes $250,000 a year that doesn't have a good time out in public and gets to go on some dates and has a nice life. There's not a reason to cut a man down. You have a beautiful wife. I've had beautiful women in my life. I'm not a billionaire. And by the way, I've heard women talk real nasty before. I've heard women on podcasts. I've heard women in my inner circle at my swimming pool have conversations where I'm like, wow. And the president got in trouble for saying what he said? like people say things. Okay. If you're going to look down on somebody, make sure that you have good reason to do it, because that wasn't enough to judge a man on. People have Trump syndrome. I don't want them to have Bianco syndrome, because there are good people out there. And what's happening in our country right now, the immigration, the jobs, the tariffs, the police, the military, the cartel being struck down, peace in the Middle East. I can go on and on. I know that people aren't always going to agree with what he's doing, and they're never going to agree with everything you're doing, Sheriff Bianco. But there are good people like yourself out there that are willing to take a plunge and dedicate their lives as a public servant, which you've already done for 30 years. And now you want to go further and become the governor of the biggest state in the country, the most populated state in the country, with, I don't even think, maybe 35 to 45 million. It's a big job. And I'm glad that somebody like you is stepping up to the plate. That's why I wanted to have you on here. We will have you on several more times before the election in June. Thank you very much for doing what you're doing, Sheriff Chad Bianco.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chad. I appreciate it. And hey, I would love to be back again. I'm also hoping maybe some campfire discussions on a hunting trip or something.
Oh, I can't wait for those. Me, you, and Hendo. I just talked to Hendo last week. He's one of my great friends, a great American. If y'all haven't checked it out, Hendo's Barrel House, Temecula, California. Just not too far drive from San Diego. What a beautiful restaurant establishment. Dan Henderson, his wife Rachel, his entire staff. It's an amazing dining experience, nightlife experience. I can't wait to get back down there. Thank you, Sheriff. We're going to sign off this Life Aid for everybody. Chad Belding, Sheriff Chad Bianco, Governor of California, running in 2026. Thank you all for being here for another episode of This Life Ain't for Everybody.